Thank you for taking out the time to attend our session. We are very happy to have you with us today. I'm very pleased to introduce to you the topic of this debate session, which is whether international admissions offer the best opportunities for our students moving forward. This debate is structured in a 2 versus 2 format, where we have 2 speakers in favor of the topic and 2 speakers against it. They will speak alternatively to each other and provide arguments not only favoring their case, but also opposing the opposite one. Each speech will last for 8 minutes, with a 4-minute summary given to each opposition, each side, towards the end. After each speech, opposition will get a chance to ask a point of information from their respective opponent. Before we proceed, we have prepared a small pre-debate poll for you to fill. The QR code will be displayed on the screen, and after you scan the QR code, it will take you to a survey. We would request if you could kindly fill that survey, and that would allow us to know your pre-debate opinions. The QR code is now displayed. It's a 1-question poll. We just want you to tell us whether you believe that international admissions offer the best opportunities for our students. The QR code should be working. It is a 1-question poll. You have to tell us whether you agree that international admissions offer the best opportunities for our students. Okay. Is there anyone who has had difficulty in filling the poll? That way we can display it again, or we can share the link. Okay. Since the time for this particular pre-debate poll has now come to an end, I'm very happy to introduce the first speaker from the proposition, Soeba Ali. Soeba is a student of Beacon House PECHS campus, currently in the 2nd year of her A-levels. She has been a public speaker since childhood. However, she has competed in various debating competitions, including Model UN conferences and declamations. Her interests are finances and marketing, and she hopes to make a name for herself in the field. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give a huge round of applause to Soeba? Next, we'll have our first speaker from the opposition, Shanze Rashid. Shanze is from the Lyceum School in Karachi, currently in her 2nd year of A-levels. Shanze is an avid debater and has been an integral part of her school's debate team, currently serving as the co-captain. She is extremely passionate about everything related to humanities and wants to pursue political science in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, Shanze Rashid. From the proposition, the second speaker will be Maryam Ali. Maryam is a first-year math and science student at the Nixon College. She has been interested in debate since childhood, and now she began formally in 11th grade. She enjoys reading about politics and science and aspires to become a research scientist and artist in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, Maryam Ali. Last but not the least, we have Ali Ahsan. Ali is currently in the 2nd and final year of his International Baccalaureate Diploma program. Right now, he's interested in economics and political science, which he plans on pursuing in university. Outside the classroom, he enjoys reading about philosophy and writing poetry. Ladies and gentlemen, Ali Ahsan. With 4 very bright students who are now at the cusp of starting their international career and their admission process, we are hoping that this debate will be a deeply constructive one and will allow you to revisit the ideas that you have told us in your pre-debate poll. With that being said, I now invite the first proposition speaker, Ms. Soeba Ali, to start her case for the next 8 minutes. Thank you, Soeba.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Soeba Ali from Beacon House PCHS campus, and I'm currently in my A2 year. And it is my absolute honor to speak about an incredibly impactful topic, the benefits of international admissions and why they offer some of the best opportunities for the students of today. In a world that is becoming increasingly interconnected, studying abroad has become more than just an educational experience. It is a gateway to personal growth, global understanding, and a stronger, more versatile career. Let's start off with a crucial point: exposure to diverse perspectives and cultures. When students study abroad, they're not just immersed in another language, climate, or cuisine. They are surrounded by peoples who bring different ways of thinking, new solutions to challenges, and fresh perspectives. This cross-cultural interaction promotes creativity, open-mindedness, and empathy. It is a reminder that no single viewpoint has all of the solutions, and that by listening to and understanding others, we all grow. This skill alone, being able to interact sufficiently with people from around the globe, can set students apart in an increasingly global workforce. Academically, international admissions often open doors to high-quality programs, cutting-edge research, and renowned faculty members who are pioneers in their field. Take, for example, a student studying environmental science. In a country with advanced research in renewable energy, not only will that student benefit from up-to-date information, but they will also have access to labs and technologies that may not be as readily available back home. By the time international students graduate, they are better equipped, better prepared, and often more competitive in the job market. This skill alone, interacting effectively with people from across the globe, sets students apart. Academically, international admissions often open the door to high-quality programs. And moving beyond academics, let's consider the professional network that comes with studying internationally. When students attend universities abroad, the connections that they make with professors, classmates, and industry professionals from a diverse range of backgrounds, these networks are essential. They lead to collaboration, mentorships, and even job offers in different parts of the world. Many of today's largest companies, from tech giants to financial firms, actively seek employees with international experience. Having a global network is more than just a collection of contacts. It is a resource that opens doors across borders, giving students a critical advantage in an increasingly interconnected job market. Internships and opportunities are another major benefit. Many universities abroad, especially in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, offer work-study programs or internships that are tailored to a student's field of study. These world's top companies within or in their innovative startups. These experiences are invaluable. They allow students to gain real-world experience. Imagine a business student interning in London, one of the world's financial capitals, or a tech student working in the Silicon Valley. These experiences offer more than just a simple line on a resume. They give students skills, knowledge, and confidence to excel in their line of work. However, the advantages of studying abroad aren't just academic or professional. There's also personal growth that comes with it. Students are challenged to navigate life in a new environment. And while this can be difficult, it teaches resilience, adaptability, and independence. They learn how to solve problems on their own, how to adapt to different cultural norms, and perhaps, most importantly, how to be comfortable with change. These qualities are incredibly valuable, not just in a career setting, but in life as a whole. These qualities are incredibly valuable and provide foundations to develop a mature, confident, and flexible mindset that can handle challenges, whether they come in a personal or professional setting. Now, some may wonder about the investment involved in studying internationally. And yes, it can be expensive. However, we must view this as a long-term investment. Many universities offer scholarships, grants, and financial aid to support international students. Plus, students who graduate from international programs statistically see a faster return on their investment thanks to higher earning potential, broader career options, and access to global competitive industries. Finally, the world needs leaders that are globally minded and internationally trained. These leaders will be the ones to to solve complex problems that we face today, from climate change to technological advancements to cross-border issues. When students study abroad, they gain not only academic and career advantages, but also vision, empathy, and global awareness that is needed to address the challenges. They understand firsthand the importance of global cooperation, and they carry these lessons with them into the workforce and beyond. In conclusion, international admissions offer more than just an education. They offer a foundation for a brighter future. They equip students with diverse perspectives, rigorous academic training, professional networks, and unparalleled personal growth. With these tools, students can thrive in their careers and contribute meaningfully to the community. They become adaptable, resilient, and prepared to meet the demands of a global world. So, as we consider the future of education, let us continue to advocate for international opportunities. By supporting students in their pursuit for a global education, we are not just helping them, we are preparing the next generation of leaders who will make a meaningful impact worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Suwaiba. Those are very convincing points. I will now open the floor to opposition to ask a point of information or any question that they might have. Perfect. With the opposition not having any point of information, I will now open the floor to the opposition again to make their case. With that, ladies and gentlemen, Shanze Rashid.
Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. 1 second. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shanze Rashid. I'm an A2 student at the Lyceum, and I'm happy to be here in a debate about one of the most topical issues that we're all facing as young people, whether or not to stay here or to go abroad. It feels hypocritical to argue on opposition today because my UK application just went out like 2 weeks ago. My Common App goes out in a few days. And basically I, like most kids I know, are doing anything and everything to get in our power to get out of this country. But that's also exactly what I'm here to talk to you guys about. Though we as young people can recognize that things in Pakistan are bad and that we want to leave, I think in order to argue this debate, I need to show you that once you leave, things are going to get exponentially worse. In fact, they in most instances will get worse. And therefore, for the sake of yourself, for the sake of your country, or any other thing that you value, you have to stay. I think firstly, I want to make a few points of rebuttal to proposition speech. One, I want to clarify that this debate cannot be about access to resources. I mean, we can't reasonably be asked to defend to you that like Oxford College is going to have the same amount of resources as like Government College Lahore, right? So it's not about access to resources. It's about whether or not you even get those resources once you go abroad, whether or not you're able to use them meaningfully in your professional career, and whether or not you're able to actualize any benefit out of them. I think that's what this debate is predicated on, and that's what we're going to be arguing on the basis of. Secondly, I want to talk about this idea about intellectual freedom and the kinds of freedoms that you're going to be able to access once you go abroad. I want to note why it's particularly worse at the point at which you do go abroad, because in westernized countries, you're led to believe that democracy exists. You're led to believe that certain ideas of freedom exist. We think in most practical instances, these notions fall apart. When you actually go out, protest as international students for something that does not align with specific agenda, you are then held accountable to that degree, and that freedom falls apart. We think at the point at which you're led to believe that you have freedom and then are betrayed by the state, we think it's probably worse. At least in Pakistan, people can like point out what the flaws are and deal with it together. Moving on then to my positive case. Why is it true that in most instances, when you leave, things will get exponentially worse? I think there have been two massive recessions within the past 12 years in the West, specifically the 2008 crisis and the COVID-19 crisis. This, coupled with the institutional racism that already exists in the West, means that migrants get scapegoated. They get blamed. We've seen this happen in the form of political narratives that exist in the West. We've seen them wielded in election campaigns, such as, oh, the immigrants are taking all our jobs. But the material impact that these sentiments have is not just in the form of narratives. It shapes the life that you get to live once you go abroad in the first place. Why does it shape your life? Because I think having two recessions in a really short period of time, coupled with a bunch of other things that already exist, means that our understanding of the world is getting more complex. But the way that social media interacts with this and the way that politics within the US, specifically due to the electoral college and the two-party system interact with this, means that there's no room for that complexity to exist in politics. Blaming and scapegoating immigrants then is like the most inevitable outcome. And this isn't just a vague idea. This results in actual violent policy that materially impacts your life. This looks like having laws that limit your ability to participate at work once you enter the job market. This looks like discriminatory housing. This looks like healthcare that is inaccessible to all, but specifically to you as a migrant. This is important because if society at large rejects your existence in the most innate sense, you have no capacity to live a meaningful life or to access any of the professional growth and networking opportunities that Proposition talks to you about. I think Proposition can reasonably respond to everything I've said and say that oppressive structures also exist in Pakistan, and they can oftentimes seem a lot more brutal. I think then there's a critical difference that we have to see. Because in Pakistan, at the very least, there exists an opportunity to insulate. What does this mean? This means you can find strength in numbers. This means you can rally for change with the people around you. Or at the very least, you can suffer together and make something out of it. But that exists in stark contrast to what you'll have to encounter when you go to the West. Because what you encounter there is simply systemic isolation and systemic alienation. This happens because the American dream is an idea that has existed for time immemorial. The idea that has governed most immigrants who go abroad in the first place is that once you go abroad, if you work hard, anybody can be American and you can assimilate, right? I think at that point then, people have, after having immigrated with this idea in mind, then respond to this idea in two main ways, right? One, they define themselves in opposition to the cultural influence that they face abroad. And because of the sense of distance that they feel, they do this in very strong ways. This results in communities that are oftentimes incredibly traditional and incredibly insecure. This is why, in many instances, Pakistani diaspora communities are a lot more conservative and a lot more diverse in their conception of what Pakistani identity even means. This then means that living abroad in those instances means you are hindered a lot more by the cultural influences that you tried to escape in the first place, that were oppressing you in the first place, right? I think at that point then, at the point at which everything, your sense of self is predicated on, at the point at which you yearn for a connection and your only means of accessing this is through a harmful diaspora community, I think that point then it's incredibly harmful for people who then want to go abroad. Or secondly, the second response people have when faced with the idea of the American dream is that they try to be model minorities, to assimilate or to ensure that they can be just like everybody else. But the problem with this is that then comes at the cost of the ties to your community and the fact that white America or white Britain, in most instances, will remind you at the point at which you even try to assimilate that you are just another Pakistani, that you will never be them. I think at that point then, I want you to note the relevance of these ideas to this debate. Because the kind of alienation that you get isn't just mental, it's incredibly material. It's promotions and job opportunities and whether or not you can go out and feel like an equal member of society. To argue this debate fairly, Proposition needs to contest the existence of all these things, something they cannot reasonably do. But then let me talk to you about opportunity in terms of the very obvious push that Proposition is making, which is, university and your career, and how the systems that exist don't even allow you to access these benefits. One, because most universities in the US have seen significant growth in their endowment. This means they have the resources to be accessible. But still, they choose not to. They keep class sizes small to create the illusion of scarcity. We've seen this happen. When we see Harvard have a 430% increase in endowment and respond with only a 4% increase in class size, we see that they want to keep people structurally locked out so that they can artificially increase the value of their degrees so that people buy into this more, and we think that is something that is largely harmful. On a comparative note, at the very least, local universities in Pakistan are actively increasing class sizes, or at the very least are trying to broaden the sphere of their reach. We cannot argue that they have the same resources, but we can argue that they're getting there on a level that is a lot less harmful than other universities. Secondly, oversaturated markets. The reason international markets are oversaturated to an extent that local job markets will never be is because countries like Pakistan need innovation and development in niche areas. For example, the field of computer science may be incredibly oversaturated abroad, but it is not in Pakistan because you need that development to happen. We think there's a lot more opportunity for growth here. I think basically the choice that you have boils down to two things. Picking the place that, despite its flaws, is your home and is the place where you and your community can always strive to be better and do better, or picking the place where you are structurally locked out of opportunity and unable to access all the benefits prop brings to you. On that note, give it to opposition.
Thank you very much. Shanze made an extremely convincing case of how international opportunities may not look as they exactly sound. We will now take the floor back to the proposition to reply to the opposition and also make the rest of their case. With that, it is my pleasure to invite Mariam Ali. Yes, I have to give you a chance to ask questions. With that, do you have any point of information?
Opposition brings up that democracy often does not exist in Western countries. However, we have the right to protest in Pakistan. How does opposition reply to the scale of 27 upon 100 given to Pakistan in terms of freedom of speech?
I think what I meant to say by that is that you're promised democracy in the United States, and when you don't get it, that's something that feels like betrayal. In Pakistan, in many instances, you are never promised this in the first place. Therefore, you can recognize the problem to a far greater extent. You can never do that in places like the US because democracy is the overarching narrative that even proposition is running on.
Follow-up question allowed?
No, only one point of information is allowed. You can mention it in your opposition. With that, Mariam Ali.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Mariam Ali, and I'm in my first year at Nixer College. Firstly, I would like to thank Saveba for her unique insights into the benefits of international education. Throughout my speech, I would like to contribute a few insights of my own, as well as address the points made by the opposition. Firstly, we would like to point out that the opposition paints a bleak and overly simplified picture of the world. Once you leave, things get exponentially worse. The proponents of this measure do not believe that this rings true. For example, the idea that for the sake of the country, you have to stay, to build institutions, and to help the people here, you must stay in the country forever, does not ring true statistically. It is not about access to resources, but how one can actualize the resources. We would like to mention that the reason the model minority myth arose was because immigrants were doing so well in the workforces abroad. They were consistently outperforming their colleagues who were native to the country. This is the reason the model minority myth arose. It arose as a direct backlash to how well immigrants were doing. And how can it help the country if immigrants leave their seat at the table, if they depart from the global industry? Intellectual freedom is incredibly important for the intellectual growth of a student. The fact that in the West they are led to believe it exists, this is because it does exist. Yes, there are flaws in every system. However, we resent the implication that the world is divided into us and them, East and West, America and the rest of the world. Even within the United States of America, there exists a large range of viewpoints and a massive political spectrum. While we saw that several university students protesting on Ivy Leagues were held accountable for several actions within those protests, we also saw several well-deserved critiques of that system, critiques that may not have been possible in a country like Pakistan, where you have seen that any organized and structured protest about Palestine has been silenced. Two massive recessions. Yes, the world is a difficult place. We confront global challenges every single year. However, those challenges are particularly prevalent in Pakistan, where the economy has recently reached new lows. Institutions that foster global collaboration will always benefit the home country. Opportunity to find strength in numbers cannot exist in a country that is incredibly divided by language, divided by ethnicity, and divided by religious beliefs. The West does not exist in isolation. The West is a region of the world, and it has various viewpoints, beliefs, political systems, and ideologies. It is not just students from Pakistan that go to institutions in America. Ivy Leagues are simply one of the types of educations one can receive abroad. We see students from Pakistan going to other Muslim countries, such as Turkey and Morocco. We see students going to the Middle East and to the Far East. We see students going to Australia. Firstly, we would like to address freedom of expression again. As Saveba pointed out, a global mindset is imperative in today's world. The Pakistan Constitution does state that freedom of expression is a fundamental right. However, this does not ring true in practice. As Saveba mentioned, according to freedomhouse.org, Pakistan's freedom score is an alarmingly low 27 out of 100. Persecution of religious minorities and clampdowns on freedom of speech do not bring people together. They divide them in a country that sorely needs more diversity in perspectives and unity. These clampdowns stunt students' intellectual growth. When students can debate religion, philosophy, and politics without the fear of repercussions, not only does it make them more confident in their own worldviews, but it also improves their overall intellectual development. It prepares them to engage meaningfully with differences of opinion in their own countries. Imagine a student trapped inside Pakistan, only exposed to self-affirming beliefs and confirmation bias. They have never questioned their worldview, why it exists, how it exists, the history and the social structures that gave them that worldview. Now imagine they go abroad. Instead of being trapped in a cycle of self-affirming beliefs, they encounter opposition. They encounter hardships, people who judge them because of the color of their skin and the country that they came from. They develop resilience. They develop the ability to participate in the global sphere, to defend their own opinions, to engage with their own ideas more meaningfully. They can return to their home countries with a global perspective and an idea of not just how their views exist, but why their views exist. When students go abroad to universities that value freedom of speech and academic expression, they become enlightened, broad-minded individuals ready to contribute to a diverse and global society. The common myth that students that go to the West become overly westernized or are simply unable to associate with ideas back home does not ring true statistically or politically. We have seen that a diversity of viewpoints is always beneficial. It is much better to have students with a specific belief that understand why they have that belief than to have students blindly believing things. For example, clerics in Bannu district recently forced a senior zoology teacher at the government postgraduate degree college to denounce his scientific teachings, ban mixed gender gatherings, and declare that women were inferior to men. What message does this send to university students that their ideas, the freedom of expression, the ability to understand their worldviews will constantly be hindered? Even in countries that have a far superior education system to Pakistan, for example, China, people still recognize the benefits from studying abroad. According to Nature magazine, over the past decade, the number of students from mainland China studying abroad has been increasing year by year, peaking at 710,000 in 2019. These opportunities abroad represent more than just high academic standing or the desire to pursue good grades. They represent a genuine desire by students to engage more meaningfully within their communities. This is not to paint a bad picture of Pakistan or to say that Pakistan is inadequate in meeting the educational needs of their students. There are many passionate voices within Pakistan seeking to make things better. But picture this. Imagine where we would be as a country if Muhammad Ali Jinnah did not study abroad, if Iqbal had not gone abroad. Where would their ideas, their viewpoints, the diversity, the ability to engage with opposite viewpoints come from? Where would technological advancements, such as the development of nuclear weapons in Pakistan, come from without international collaboration?
Mariam, you get 30 seconds as a grace period.
Okay. This is especially true for graduate school, where it is not just quality of curriculum, but cutting-edge opportunities that matter. For example, Habib University, often hailed as a hallmark of how freedom of speech can function within universities. Where would Habib University have gotten off the ground without international collaboration? We celebrate international collaboration. It is not competition. Rather, it is making a more global world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariam. Mariam made really convincing points and gave us a different perspective to what Shanze's perspective was. Shanze and Ali, you now have an option to ask one point of information.
Yeah, so our entire case was not about your obligation to your country, it was about your obligation to yourself and the fact that you shouldn't put yourself in situations where racist institutions will always alienate you. Why didn't you engage with that?
So firstly, we'd like to mention that the idea that racist institutions exist is of course true. Institutional racism is a very real problem. But disengaging from the international communities can only make that problem worse. Furthermore, it is not just students going to the United States of America. Students go to various countries and have various opportunities abroad. So we believe that we cannot think in black and white terms. We have to engage with every single aspect instead of painting a bleak picture of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. With that, I'm now honored to invite the opposition to wrap up the case with Mr. Ali Ehsan taking the floor.
Hello. Am I audible? Right. Good afternoon. My name is Ali Ehsan. I'm from Beacon House PCHS Campus International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. And it is my pleasure to build upon this debate regarding a topic as important and impactful as the one before us. As part of the current batch applying to university as people in 2025, I'm seeing firsthand the efforts and lengths that our students go to secure a spot at those coveted international institutions. However, today I will argue that studying abroad is not the only option for our students to receive a high quality higher education. And even in our case, staying in Pakistan for university may even be the best option for us. That personal growth and the advancement of one's career aren't just reserved for the students who get a spot at foreign universities. Allow me to state the obvious. International educations are expensive. Taking the United States as an example, which is a destination for a large proportion of students, the average annual tuition that a student may be expected to pay ranges anywhere from $25,000 to $45,000. That's a lot of money that not everyone can afford to pay, especially the majority of our students because of the difference in exchange rates. Additionally, the holistic admissions process, which takes in a lot of different factors, leads to admissions being skewed in the favor of students with more privilege. Because to have a holistic profile, you need to devote time to extracurriculars, focus on studying, work on your application, and have access to resources and tutors that other less economically well-off students may not have. Couple this with the fact that on average, universities that offer the most financial aid are often the universities which have the most elite admissions criteria, leads to a prevailing elite culture at these universities, which means that only the top 10% of students are able to attend without struggling to find where their next meal will come from, how they'll pay for their tuition, how they'll pay back their loans, etc. It's entirely possible to be placed in an echo chamber with only a limited number of perspectives to consider. Speaking of perspectives, the proposition side made the point that students who study abroad are exposed to different perspectives and cultures. Maybe so. But is Pakistan that closed of an environment? Do children from diverse backgrounds not attend universities here? Do they not come to higher education institutions? Let's deem what the proposition said about nationality diversity as right for just a moment. But what about diversity with reference to economic class? Because of the nature of the wealth distribution in Pakistan, and because of initiatives like the National Outreach Program, there are universities with students studying that are exposed to different perspectives from their different economic backgrounds, which is just as important from different perspectives from cultures. Economic diversity can help our students become more empathetic, think about the larger population and the common good. Because think about this for a moment. A student from a rural area that migrates to an urban city faces a significant transition, navigating city life, managing expenses, adapting to a new environment. These experiences foster resilience and maturity just as well as studying abroad without the cost and the isolation that comes with living in a foreign country. The proposition posits that international admissions are a long-term investment, but here's our question. How long is too long? Because students that return from international programs who may have taken loans to fund their study may be burdened by debt upon their return. And this debt may lead to a long delay in achieving economic and financial freedom because you have to pay those debts back. This debt may also lead them to be discouraged from taking up other endeavors because they have to work and find a high-paying job to pay back those loans. Additionally, employers place a greater importance on the skills and experience that employees have, not the location of their degree. And so, where do these skills and experiences come from? They come from internships and other opportunities which are more accessible to students who attend local universities. Local universities have stronger relations with local industries, with local firms. They've been partnered with them to provide our students a significant advantage in accessing these opportunities. While applying for work internationally may be riddled with obstacles, from legal obstacles to visa obligations, our students studying in Pakistan have to face relatively fewer obstructions. But what of the personal growth that our students may experience while abroad? It is true that they may adapt to their new and unfamiliar situation. It is also equally likely, and probably even more likely, that they face disconnection from their environment, homesickness, loneliness, discrimination, all of which can hinder their ability to perform academically and socially. In contrast, students that study at local universities at home in their home country are closer to home, closer to the support of their families, to their friends. They're less likely to face social and cultural barriers in their interactions with other students. Resilience isn't only to be found abroad. Resilience is a result of how you react to obstacles, and those obstacles may come from anywhere. Personal growth isn't just about being exposed to different cultures. It's about exploring one's own community, finding one's own identity. By being part of a supportive environment, our students can grow into their best selves. Lastly, regarding globally minded leaders, before we can raise our voice for others, it's important that we find our own voices. Leadership isn't stepping into another person's shoes. It's about understanding our own issues. To contribute to global solutions, students have to be grounded in the problems and issues of their own local communities. By pursuing a domestic education, students can be made aware of these problems through first-hand immersion in their own cultures and identities. Afterwards, when they eventually reach an international stage, they not just have their own credentials, but they also have an understanding of themselves and their own cultures. In conclusion, while an international admission may have some advantages over a domestic one, we cannot discount the strengths of pursuing an education in our own home country. The proposition side made the point that Muhammad Ali Jinnah went abroad to pursue an education. Well, consider the context that he went to pursue an education. At that time, there was systemic inequality in British India against Muslims and against Indians to receive an education. That's why he went abroad to receive an education and then speak for his own rights. But now we're not in that time anymore. Now we have the freedom to pursue our educations and freedom to study what we want. The same goes for Habib University. The professors that went abroad and then came back to teach for Habib universities went because there weren't high enough standards for education at the time. But now there are. Now they're back. Now they're at Habib University, so they can teach other students. Students are not only exposed to different cultures.
Ali, I may also give you 30 more seconds.
I have 30 more seconds. So students are not only exposed to different cultures, but they're also exposed to different economic backgrounds here. They have a support, they have friends, they have a social net. They're able to participate in local and internship and work opportunities with greater ease. And they're able to find their own voices and cultural identities so that they can raise them at an international platform later. Let us not forget the opportunities to be found at home, and let us support the leaders who bring their own voices worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. As all four speakers have now made their points, we will now take 4-minute summaries from each side. Yes, I have to give you a question. With that, do we have a point of information from the proposition?
Yes. Opposition mentioned how national diversity was given precedence over economic diversity and brought out the National Outreach Program as an example. However, it was taken in parallel to scholarships. Scholarships are given to a specific few amount of people, as mentioned by the opposition. However, it is to be noted that the National Outreach Program is also only given to about 1 to 5% of the incoming class. In that case, how does the National Outreach Program differ to any scholarship or financial aid given to international students in Pakistan?
So I think a national outreach program, first of all, it's in the beginning stages. It's only been a few years. And there are obviously steps to get to the stage where you can support a larger proportion of your incoming class. The National Outreach Program is only targeted to those few who live in the rural areas of Pakistan and who otherwise wouldn't be able to get an education. And so because of that, they're able to get it. Scholarships, on the other hand, they are based on a variety of other factors, which, like I said, they might not be economically able to achieve. So things like extracurriculars, activities, so on and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. With that, we'll move towards the summaries. I would first invite the proposition to give a 4-minute summary of their case.
In our summary, we hope to prove the argument wrong that international education is too expensive and creates a financial strain on students and families as created by the opposition. While it is true that studying internationally can be costly, many universities offer substantial scholarships, grants, and most importantly, financial aid to talented international students as a parallel to the national outreach program proposed by the opposition. Additionally, many countries allow students to work part-time, both on campus and off campus, helping them offset expenses. If we consider the long-term return on investment, students with international education often have better career prospects, higher earning potential, and a wider professional network, which can lead to faster financial stability post-graduation. Investing in quality education is one of the most effective ways of ensuring a strong financial future. In the argument that local education systems offer quality programs too, so why go abroad? We refute that while domestic education systems may offer high quality programs, studying abroad offers unique opportunities that are often unavailable at home. International universities give students access to specialized programs, cutting-edge research, and global perspectives, as well as innovative teaching methods. In the argument that it is better to focus on building our own education institutions rather than sending students abroad, we refute that investing in local educations is indeed essential. However, why does that have to come at the cost of encouraging international education? Sending students abroad fosters knowledge exchange and allows them to bring back valuable insight, practices, innovations that can strengthen our own education system. In a point brought up by opposition about alienation of students, we bring up that alienation can happen at home, and abroad universities offer both Muslim student unions as well as Pakistani student unions that encourages collaboration and global teamwork. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Soeba. We'll now move towards the opposition for a 4-minute summary.
What is the one thing we told you in this debate? We told you that this debate was not about access to resources, because I cannot reasonably argue to you that Government College Lahore has the same resources as Oxford, right? I can't make that argument, it's impossible. What this debate was supposed to then be about was, what is it worthwhile for you to do? It was about the fact that the institutions abroad will always alienate you, and your only source of recourse cannot be, oh, I'm going to join the Muslim Student Union, guys. I don't think that's functional, right? Because every institution is systematically against you, because we gave you analysis about the Electoral College and how polarization exists. We told you that all these institutions are against you. They're enacting violent policy against you that is going to make your life materially worse at the point at which you go abroad. We think at that point then, going to, and referring to a Muslim student union was probably not something that you should opt into in either sense, right? I think then, we told you about global mindedness and leaders, right? I want you to note like the subtle racism that comes out, right? Because they tell you that Jinnah would never have founded Pakistan if he didn't go to Oxford or something. I think still we can easily respond to that. I think the point at which you get better leaders is when they're integrated within the community, when they truly understand the struggles of the community. So you can say that Jinnah wouldn't have been the leader of Pakistan if he didn't go abroad, but I can just as easily argue that Jinnah wouldn't have been the leader that he had been had he not known the Pakistani people to the fullest extent, right? Had he not integrated himself within that community, had he not focused on building that community and understanding people's struggles, I think that was far more valuable in his trajectory as a leader. Thirdly, how do we tell you it gets better? We tell you it gets better at the point at which you encourage people to stay, at the point at which you tell them, stay within your institutions, use the intelligent, talented minds that we know you have in order to make these systems exponentially better. This results in things like critical liberal arts curriculums in places like Habib that then come out, right? This results in international collaboration. I don't think in order for you to foster international collaboration, you need to send people abroad. I think you can also like call them within. You can make the systems within better insofar as people can access them from abroad as well, right? I don't think people within the US or China or Canada are always going to study abroad and therefore accessing global mindedness in that sense. I think it probably happens at the point at which you as a community know yourself better. We told you this debate had to be about places like the UK, it had to be about places like the US, in addition to places like China, etc. Because I think the narrative of the American dream that we all heavily subscribe to, even if it's unconscious, exists most strongly in places like the US, in places like UK, where you believe that you can access a better life at the point at which you integrate within those systems. But even if this debate was about China or the Middle East, I tell you those racist institutions will still exist. I tell you that living in the Middle East as a brown person can be something that is incredibly harrowing, because you're never seen as equal, because every single person there will always see you as less than at the point at which you're not economically up there. I think at that point then, that doesn't fall. Why was this all important? We told you that even if scholarships exist, even if a couple of programs exist, one, these are things that put incredible burdens on children, right? Because I'm told that in order for me to access a good life, I need to be exceptional enough to earn one coveted spot in one coveted scholarship. We don't think that's a fair burden to put on children. We think we need to make our internal resources better, and we think that can only come at the expense of asking people to stay. I think then this debate had to be about that. This debate is not about the assumed binary of whether or not you can go abroad and whether or not you can afford to go abroad or not. I think many parents make incredible sacrifices to send their children abroad. If we tell them that your children can at least, for the very least, access a much better life at the point at which they choose to stay and make systems actively better, I think at that point then, you're probably more likely to get good outcomes, and therefore we should encourage people to stay and not opt for international admissions.
Thank you, Shanze. With that, we have had all 4 speakers and we have had 2 summary points from the both cases. I'm very excited to see if that has changed the opinion in this room. With that, we will now display the next QR code, which is for the post-debate. Sorry to the opposition. We will also take seats. We will then display the results of pre and post-debate so that we can see whether there has been a palpable change in this room. Dear audience, you have 1 minute to fill the poll, and after which we will display the results. With that, we have come to an end for this particular poll. May I 1 more minute? Let's take 30 seconds. Because I want to see what change has occurred in this audience. Can we please display the results now? Because we are also very, very short on time, and SOT this time is completely punctual. Okay. Okay. With that, the pre-debate poll had 15% of people who believe that international opportunities do not provide good opportunities, while 85% believe that they do. However, post-debate, we had 70% people believe that they provided good opportunities, but 30%, double the number, believe that they are good enough in Pakistan. With that, we hope that this debate has been very fruitful. I thank Mariam, Soeba, Shanze, and Ali for presenting their cases, and you all for being a wonderful audience with us. Thank you to all the management for displaying the debate and also for you to participate. We would also like to thank the sponsors of this particular event, the lead sponsor UBL, and all the other sponsors who have made this event possible. Thank you very much. We would love to hear your feedback on the app.